all about the Medical Legal Consulting Conference in 2020. Dr. Feldman, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Kate. And thanks for doing such a great job as our webinar moderator over the years. It's been a few years now, hasn't it? And thanks to all of you for joining us on this webinar. It's just so great to have so many of you participating today. We'll talk about the upcoming Medical Legal Consulting Conference, and I'll answer any of your questions about what this kind of consulting is about. I'm going to start with a few brief remarks and then throw it open for questions. As many of you know, burnout is an increasingly serious problem for physicians, affecting over 50% of clinicians in some studies. In fact, I read an interesting study that 1 of every 4 physicians is looking to do some non-clinical work, in part to ease the stress of today's clinical practice. I'm going to briefly discuss a non-clinical consulting opportunity that you can do full-time as part of your existing practice or in lieu of retiring. I'll tell you that I've found non-clinical consulting, specifically medical legal consulting, to be really interesting, fun, actually. I've worked out of a home office for the entire 13 years that I've done medical legal consulting, and I've done well over 3,000 interesting, rewarding, and lucrative cases. In fact, you're in the right place if you're looking for a great way to add to or to change your professional direction, and you want to learn about why you should attend the upcoming Medical Legal Consulting Conference, May 2nd and 3rd, 2020 in Denver. In fact, if you want to register now, please call 303-619-0777. You can also register by clicking on the green Secure Your Spot Now button in the upper right corner of your screen. Now, before going on, let me just take a moment and let you know that medical legal consulting has not only been a great addition to my career, but to the career of physicians who have attended past conferences. Listen to what Dr. James Kemmler has to say. For a handful of reasons, I decided to attend Dr. Armin Feldman's medical consultant course. In the first full year of starting this process as a part-time job, in addition to my orthopedic practice, we generated approximately $100,000. I'd like to thank Dr. Feldman for teaching this course and helping me codify our process. In fact, whether you're interested in learning about a new way to use your hard-earned medical knowledge or a new way to find a lucrative addition to your practice or retirement, you are definitely in the right place. And I can tell you, in this age of constant change in the practice of medicine, physicians, after attending my conference, have called me and emailed me with how this conference really helped to change their lives for the better, both in terms of practice satisfaction and in terms of wealth. I know it might sound too good to be true, right? But that's the repeated feedback I've gotten from doctors who have attended a past conference. And at this year's conference, you'll be able to directly talk with and question doctors using my system and hear about their experience doing this kind of work. You see, for the past 13 years, I've been a full-time medical consultant in legal cases. It's important to say I don't act as a medical expert and I don't participate in medical malpractice cases. There's a big difference between a medical consultant and a medical expert witness in legal matters. In fact, they are two completely different things. And you'll learn how to be a medical consultant at the conference. When doctors and lawyers think about lawyers hiring doctors, they really only think of one thing, and that's hiring doctors to be expert witnesses. Over 13 years ago, I started, and now through the years have been refining a new branch of forensic medicine that involves working as a medical consultant in civil as opposed to criminal cases. All of this lucrative work is pre-trial, pre-litigation, and the work is not specialty specific. Any doctor in any specialty can be trained to work as a medical consultant in legal cases. I answer any kind of medical question an attorney has in their ongoing cases, and you can do that too. In fact, I'll teach you exactly how to do just that at the conference. This work is designed to help attorneys settle cases for better value with less attorney time. In all of our work, we're always doing two things. First, we're helping attorneys negotiate and settle cases for better value. And we're helping attorneys get the appropriate medical care for their clients. Now, I also want to say that the work is really rewarding. I'm helping people who would not have otherwise been afforded the medical consultation help that they really desperately need. All of our work is either in personal injury cases or workers' compensation cases, but I want to reiterate, a doctor in any specialty can do this work, and I'll teach you how to do it. In these areas of the law, personal injury and workers' compensation, approximately 9 out of every 10 cases settle. So in other words, the cases are negotiated and then a settlement is reached and the case never goes to trial. So anything that we can do as physician medical consultants to help attorneys better negotiate and settle their cases for increased case value, in other words, more money, with less attorney time, is very, very appealing to many attorneys, actually to most attorneys. In fact, I'm very rarely asked about my specialty. Attorneys are much more interested in knowing if my reports, medical opinions, and other services will help them to better negotiate and settle their cases. Now, obviously, if the case is going to court in that 1 out of 10 cases on which you'll consult that doesn't settle, that is, the attorney will do depositions and go to trial, the attorney will need medical experts in every area of injury. But as you'll see at the conference, you'll be involved in those 9 of 10 cases that are negotiated and settled. That is, where the attorney needs well-reasoned and researched medical opinions, reports, and other services that any good physician can provide. So let's talk about what the conference is really all about. In other words, what we'll discuss, what you can earn, why attend this year, and who attends and why. Let's start with what we'll discuss. This conference is really about two things. First, how to start up and then successfully run your medical legal consulting business long-term. And that's day one. Second, the conference is about the medicine you need to know, and that's most of day two. So take a look at the actual course outline up on your screen. So we'll start with an introduction to non-clinical work, how to add to your paradigm. In other words, how to take that leap to non-clinical consulting, specifically medical legal consulting. And then I'll talk about the specific kinds of services and consultations that you'll actually be doing day in and day out. There are about 15 different services that you can offer. After the break, I'll come back and talk about some small business principles for your medical legal consulting business that I think are essential and will help to help you run your business day to day and just help you in the success of your business. Then my really great friend, Attorney John Ferris, will talk about what you need to know about the law, specifically personal injury law, workers' compensation law, and the actual workings of attorney offices. After lunch, by the way, breakfast and lunch are included as part of your tuition. But after lunch, we'll get into the nuts and bolts on day one. So I'll give you a step-by-step plan to launch your medical legal consulting business, followed by a step-by-step comprehensive plan on how you market your medical legal consulting business. Marketing plan is really about two things. First, how do you get your attorney clients? And second, how do you keep those clients long-term? Marketers talk about top-of-mind consciousness. If you don't maintain top-of-mind consciousness with your clients, in fact, is even your best customers, even your best clients will forget about you. After the break, my great friend, Dr. Tom Moore, who is an anesthesiologist in Birmingham, Alabama, and he's working about half-time now, and has for the past 4 years, doing medical legal consulting. We'll talk about his experience using the business system and his experience doing this kind of work. And then we'll bring other physicians up on stage who are doing this kind of work and have and are using the system, and you can question them directly. I'll then talk about going from good to great. And then after the break, we'll finish up day one with a step-by-step plan on how to operate your medical legal consulting business successfully on a day-to-day basis. Day one it's a long day. We finish at 6. It's jam-packed with information. It should be actually a lot of fun. Then on day 2, we'll start with the 10-minute meeting. That is your initial meeting with attorneys. And I'll give you another step-by-step plan on how you do that meeting, how you approach attorneys for the first time and convert them into clients. Then Attorney John Ferris will come back and talk about how we as medical consultants add value to legal cases. And then you'll get to see an actual video presentation of me doing a real 10-minute meeting, a real initial meeting. It wasn't staged. I had known John years ago, and I asked him if he would mind if I came to meet with him face-to-face to discuss this with him, and did he mind if I brought along a couple of videographers, which he was kind enough to say yes to. So you'll see an actual 10-minute meeting. Then after the break, I'll come back and talk about how you write great medical legal reports. Then after lunch, we'll get into case studies. We'll get into the medicine you need to know. We'll talk about the actual kinds of conditions that you'll see, the kinds of medical situations that you'll be consulting on and confronted with. And then I'll come back and talk about understanding personality types, not only for your medical legal consulting business, but I think it'll help you in your everyday life as well. We will then do our medical workshop and finish with what to do next. All right. Now, let's determine what you can earn. The math's pretty easy, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And the way that I've been advising other physicians is do an informal survey of your colleagues and determine what you think is the average fee per hour for doing medical expert work in your community. Now, obviously, there's a range, but it's really not that hard to figure the average. Once you have that average, you want to think about coming in your fee per hour to be somewhat under what the medical experts are charging. Then it's quite simple. Determine what you're charging per hour, determine how many hours a week you want to devote to this, and it's easy to figure out what you can earn. And I think, as I said, I think you'll be quite pleasantly surprised. Okay, now let's talk about why it's important to attend this year. The biggest reason is you can still get in on the ground floor of this new field. There are about 1 million MDs and DOs in the country. And unless someone has been trained by me, I now know after doing this for years, that unless someone's trained by me, there just aren't physicians doing this kind of work. Now, I've had the privilege to train a number of physicians over the years, but I can tell you that number, it's only a fraction, a small handful, a thimbleful, compared to that million physicians that we have in the country. Point is, it's not too late to get in on the first wave of physicians doing this. The demand is high, the supply is still actually quite low. All right, let's talk about who attends. Doctors from every and any specialty. Those physicians who want to start doing some non-clinical consulting, and doctors looking to take back their autonomy. We're all aware of the slow death of the private practice that is upon us. Fewer and fewer physicians actually own their own practice. This is an opportunity to own your own business, be your own boss, set your own rules, and enjoy the freedom of owning your own business. And finally, doctors looking to do something new, full-time, or those who want to consult part-time as part of an existing practice, or those who want to do something interesting and lucrative instead of retiring. I think you may have heard one of my assistants in the background. It is true that I work out of a home office. Occasionally, one of my assistants will start barking. Now, Kate, with that introduction, let's open it up for questions. And as you ask your questions, I'll throw the slide back on about when the conference is and how to register. So I'm happy to take some questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that in-depth introduction, Dr. Feldman. I think it's really useful for everyone to have that framing of what they're going to learn at the conference this year and why they should attend, because it is definitely a must-attend event. And we've really had some questions coming in. So let's jump straight into those. So Michael has asked, do I have to have malpractice insurance for this type of job?
That is a good question, and there are actually a couple different answers to that question. So let me start with the bottom line answer. Here's the bottom line answer. If you are concerned about that, what I recommend is that you hire an attorney in your state. Probably only take the attorney a couple of hours of their time, and present to the attorney what it is that you're planning on doing, and have that attorney give you a written opinion as to whether or not you need medical malpractice in order to do this work. So that is the bottom line answer. Here's another answer. First, disclaimer, I'm not an attorney. However, I don't think that you need medical malpractice to do this work. I don't carry it myself. I've been doing this work for 13 years, and never say never, but I have never even come close to a sniff of any of my clients threatening to sue me. I suppose anybody could sue anyone for anything, right? And all of my clients are attorneys. They certainly know how to sue people. But I think the main reason why it hasn't been much of an issue is that I am hired to render medical opinions in legal cases. So as long as I do that in good faith, I do the appropriate things that I'm supposed to do, review the case, interview the client of the attorney, do the appropriate medical research, write a reasonable and appropriate and insightful report. Even if the attorney didn't like my opinion, I can't say that's ever happened, but even if the attorney didn't like my opinion, very hard to sue someone if you hire that person to render a medical opinion. They do that in good faith, and that you do provide the service that you promise that you'll provide.
Wonderful, thank you. So just a reminder to everybody, there's a chat box on the right-hand side where you can pop your questions and we'll keep going through those. There is also a big green button on the right-hand side of your screen that says secure your spot now. So if you are ready to jump over and get your ticket for the conference right now, you'll also get the early bird pricing and save $100. And those tickets go up in just a few weeks to the standard pricing, and we sell out every single year. So please don't miss your opportunity. Of course, you can also call 303 619 0777, and we do have people standing by to take your calls and to secure your ticket. So we have another question from Michael, who has asked, do I need to continue my clinical practice to perform this type of job? Do I need to have the state license to perform this job?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, do you need to continue your clinical practice? I think you may be asking that, Michael, from the standpoint of if you are acting as a medical expert in legal matters, and particularly if the purpose of your being retained is to give an opinion at trial, then you really do need to be still practicing in your field. That is not what we do. We act as medical consultants, and we are working pre-trial, pre-litigation. I have never been deposed in 13 years. I've only acted as an expert once, and actually that was as a favor to the attorney because she couldn't find any treating doctors that would do it, and her main treating doctor had actually retired. She couldn't find him, but so you don't really need to be in active practice to do this. Whether you need a medical license, you really it certainly helps in your marketing, but you actually probably don't even really need that.
Fantastic. Thank you for that answer. Tony has asked, can you comment on patent law cases?
On what kind of cases?
On patent law cases.
Oh, patent law. Patent law?
Yeah, I think that's the English versus American, isn't it?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I can't because I have never actually been asked to participate in a patent case. The cases are going to either be in personal injury. So the bread and butter of a personal injury case would be auto cases, other kinds of personal injury, dog bites, slip and falls, sick buildings, motorcycle accidents, um, uh, insurance bad faith, product liability, but not patents. And then in workers' compensation cases, obviously, I only work on the side of with claimant attorneys. I only work on the side of the injured person. In fact, I never work on the insurance side. Not only do I have some moral and ethical objections to it, but I want to work on the side of the little guy going up against the insurance companies, often their own insurance company who's been denying legitimate claims. So people in good faith, they pay their insurance premiums every month, and then they get injured, whether in a PI case or a workers' comp case. And most people are actually surprised to find out that insurance companies are in the business of collecting premiums, making investments, and not paying claims. So, unfortunately, it's kind of a crazy system we have in our country, but unfortunately, many people, in order to get the benefits that they've been paying for years, have to retain an attorney. What we do is help the attorney to help their client not only obtain damages when that's indicated, when there's negligence, but also to help them obtain the medical treatment that is outlined and that they deserve based on what they've been paying in premiums over the years.
Fantastic. Okay, so Tara has asked, I'm a nurse practitioner. Is this conference relevant to me as I'm aiming to get LNC certified? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm not sure the answer to that question because what I'm hired to do is render medical opinions. Now, I know that there are nurse practitioners, certainly nurse practitioners who have doctorates that are practicing medicine. So, in that sense, they may be able to render an opinion, but by and large, this conference is for MDs and DOs.
And Kristen has asked, can you please give us examples of a couple of cases you have worked on?
Sure. Let me give you a couple of simple examples. By the way, one of the things that's been fun over the years is a lot of times I'm asked, my medical opinion is about solving some conundrum or some puzzle or some interesting medical fact. I had a case some years ago where a 22-year-old woman was rear-ended in an auto accident. 6 hours after the accident, she had acute appendicitis, had an appendectomy, and the attorney wanted to know, was the appendicitis accident related? In other words, there was negligence. The woman was rear-ended and then had this event temporally related 6 hours later. And was it accident related? In other words, was it a damage in the case? And I can tell you that when I was listening to the attorney on the phone, I was thinking, well, there's no way that this is accident related. It might just be a coincidence. So then I went to the medical literature and I found out that in blunt force trauma to the abdomen, now particularly in teens and young adults, does and can precipitate acute appendicitis, well documented in the literature. So, despite the fact that this 22-year-old woman was properly restrained in her car, she was hit with enough force that she was pushed forward, and she had blunt force trauma to the abdomen caused by the steering wheel. So, it was my medical opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical probability, that the accident was the immediate and proximate cause of her acute appendicitis. That was my medical opinion. I wrote it up. And as it turns out, based on my report, that appendicitis was considered a damage in the case. Another one of the many services that I provide is I actually physically sit in and observe independent medical exams. And when it's appropriate, I write IME rebuttal reports. In fact, I think I was the first physician in the country to actually physically sit in and observe independent medical exams. Now, there are very good doctors who routinely do very good independent medical exams. And I'm usually not involved in those cases, although some attorneys have me observe every IME for every one of their clients, no matter the doctor. But we all know that in every community across the country, there are also a group of doctors who make some of their income or all of their income doing IMEs. And these doctors are under tremendous secondary gain pressure. The fact is, if they don't consistently come down with opinions that favor the insurance position, the insurance company certainly will find doctors who do. And this has been going on since the mid 80s, that we've had this process of independent medical examination. So I observed an IME in a torn rotator cuff case. It was the IME doctor's opinion that because there was no dye leakage on imaging, that this person shouldn't be the person needed a revision surgery. And the IME doctor's opinion in the report was that that wasn't indicated because there was no dye leakage. So I wrote a report that said, well, based on the medical literature, if the patient continues to, after surgical repair, continues to have loss of range of motion, pain, and loss of functioning, that is an indication for a revision surgery. I quoted a whole bunch of literature, and then based on that report, this client of the attorney was afforded a revision surgery. So that's a couple of different cases.
Fantastic. Those are great examples. Michael has asked, how can I find an attorney who needs my help?
Right. So one of the things that we're going to talk about, Michael, at the conference is uh, this conference is about two things. It's about the medicine, but it's also about how to run your business. We as physicians certainly aren't taught anything in medical school about how to run a business, and it's even less relevant these days with most physicians working for some big corporation or hospital corporation. So one of the things that this conference is about is the business side of a successful medical legal consulting business. And we will talk about in great detail how you market your business. And this, by the way, this kind of medical legal consulting business, it makes for a great one-person business. There are some great thinkers on small businesses, and one of them is a guy by the name of Michael Gerber, and he says all small businesses can be broken down into three component parts: the manager, the technician, and the entrepreneur. And one of your entrepreneurial duties, and all three hats can be successfully worn by one person in this kind of a business. And one of your entrepreneurial duties is first obtaining your attorney client business and then maintaining it over time. And we will talk about that in great detail. And in fact, one of the things that I say right at the beginning of the conference is when you leave this conference, you will have all of the tools and all of the instruction needed to go back and successfully do this in your local market. By the way, every one of these medical legal consulting businesses is a local business. By the nature of the business, by the nature of the marketing for the business, it's really impractical. In fact, it doesn't make much sense to try to solicit business from outside your local area. And I'll teach you exactly how to do that.
Fabulous. So, just another quick reminder for everybody, if you do want to grab your tickets for the conference now at the early bird price and save $100, you can click on the big green button in the top right hand corner of your screen, which will take you through to our website to complete the forms there. Or, of course, you can call 303 619 0777. So, Dr. Feldman, just while we're kind of talking about securing our tickets to the conference, would you like to run our audience through the two different ticket types that we have for this year?
Yeah, we're doing something exciting this year. In past years, there was one kind of ticket, just a general ticket to get in. This year, we're doing a VIP ticket as well. And with the VIP ticket, you get some preferred seating in the front of the house and a number of extra tools to take home, including a number of reports, sample reports. You also not only get lunch, which everybody gets, but lunch with either me or one of the other faculty members, and then a bag of goodies to take home. So it's kind of exciting. It'll be fun to get to meet some of the participants more intimately. And so there are the two different kinds of ticketing this year.
Fabulous. And those VIP tickets are extremely limited. We
Yeah.
started off with 21 and we've sold about half of those so far. So if you do want to get in for one of those VIP tickets, and if you want to get a VIP ticket at the early bird price before it goes up in just a couple of weeks' time, please do go through and secure your spot now. And of course, we have our standard tickets as well at the early bird price. And again, they sell out every single year. So please don't miss the opportunity to come and join us in Denver next year. So again, would you like to just kind of tell the audience about the location and anything else they need to know about actually joining us on May the 2nd and 3rd next year?
Sure. Thanks, Kate. So the conference will be held at the Westin DIA. It's a beautiful hotel It was put up a couple of years ago. And the great thing about this hotel is that you can actually get off your plane, grab your suitcase, and walk to the hotel. You don't have to get a taxi. You don't have to get a shuttle bus. You can walk from the gate directly to the hotel. They added another restaurant at the hotel this past year or so. There are more restaurant options as well. So, and every year, as you all know, you need to fill out a survey at the end of any conference, and the hotel has actually gotten rave reviews. Also, May is a great time to be in Denver. It's where I've lived for the past 40 years, and it's before tourist season. I'd encourage you to come to the conference, and then we're right at the base of the foothills, and then head up into the Rocky Mountains before the tourists get there.
Fantastic. So Kirk has asked, what time does it end on Sunday?
Right. So on Sunday, the conference ends at 4:30. So on Monday, we start 7:30 to 8:30 with I'm sorry, on Saturday, we start at 7:30 with registration and breakfast. The conference is 8:30 to 6 p.m. with lunch and some other breaks during the day. On Sunday, we 7:30 to 8:30 is breakfast. The conference is 8:30 to 4:30 with a break in the morning and afternoon and lunch. So I know that there are, having done this a number of years, there are a number of flights that leave Denver for both the East and West Coast uh, in the late afternoon. So a lot of the physicians will check out, leave their bag in the conference room, and then head out right after the conference.
Wonderful. That has answered Kirk's follow-up question about possible flights out to the East Coast as well. So thank you very much for that, Dr. Feldman. We've got a couple of questions that were submitted in advance by people who are unable to attend today. So they have asked, do you have to be a certain speciality to do this work?
Right. It's a very good question, and the answer is no. As I said earlier, I answer any kind of medical question that an attorney has in a case. Now, the attorneys know that I'm not a walking, talking encyclopedia of medicine. They know that in order for me to give good answers to their questions, I'm going to need to do research. I charge for my research time. The attorneys don't have a problem with that. In fact, they expect it. And it's been one of the real pleasures of doing this kind of work. I'm certain I am a much better rounded and better doctor in general based on all of the research I've done over the years. Uh, Most of it's been quite fascinating. And you just by doing cases. Now, you become quite expert in certain things. Now, I'm not prepared to do my background, by the way, is I'm trained as a psychiatrist and a psychoanalyst. My area of specialty turned out to be mild traumatic brain injury. And I wound up owning outpatient head injury rehabilitation clinics, rehabilitation treatment program of my own design around the country, and eventually sold those clinics. And I was looking for something new and interesting to do. And having testified as an expert witness more times than I wish to remember, I thought, well, maybe what I could do is just answer any kind of medical question that came up in a case. That turned out to be not only a good thing, but now it's turned into a new subspecialty of forensic medicine. But it's a subspecialty that really anyone can participate in. If you Some physicians just like to stay in their lane, right? They like their specialty. They're not really interested in much else. But if you have some intellectual curiosity about the field of medicine and you enjoy lifelong learning, then this is for you.
Fabulous. So, when somebody comes to the conference, when they leave, are they going to be ready straight away to start consulting to attorneys? What's the process post conference?
Right. So yes, you will be. As I said earlier, you will leave with all of the tools and instruction you need. First thing you're going to do is take the information that you learned on our session on how to launch your business. You're going to do that. Most physicians are able to get through that launch plan in somewhere between uh, 3 and 6 weeks. And hello, are you there?
Hi,
Oh,
I can
okay.
still hear you.
Oh, my screen went dark. I was hoping my computer didn't turn off for some reason. Um,
No,
so, um, uh, so that launch plan will get you up and running. Up and running is defined as now being in a position to go out and start meeting with attorneys. From the time that you start going out and meeting with attorneys to the time that you should start seeing some cash flow, if you're on average with other physicians around the country, it's usually about 3 months. And you should start making money from that point forward. And from to the time it takes to have absolutely thriving practice, it's like anything else. It takes about a year. But you will have the instruction, you will have the tools that you need in order to do this, just like James Cameron.
wonderful. Michael has asked if we're sending a recording of this webinar via email. Yes, Michael, we will be following up with the recording most likely tomorrow. So that will be sent out. Okay, fantastic. So when somebody leaves the conference and they're setting up and they're trying to get clients, how do they do that marketing? How do they start to generate those clients?
Right. So the services that I offer and that you will offer, they're not standard operating procedure for attorneys. These services will be new to them. So there's really only one way to get your business, and that is you have to get face to face with the attorney and educate them and make it so. So, we all know see one, do one, teach one, right? So I'm going to show you how to do this, and then by the time you leave the conference, you'll be ready to go out and do that on your own.
And how much time does it take? Can you do it part-time or do you have to do it full-time?
Most physicians do this as part of an existing practice. There are physicians that do it full time. There are physicians that do it in lieu of retiring. But the majority of physicians are doing it as part of an existing practice.
Wonderful. And what kind of competition are they going to face? Is it something that they can do with attorneys around the country? Is it something just in the local area? How much competition is there going to be in the local area when they come out of the conference and set up their business?
Right. So as I said earlier, there's a great demand for this, and there's a shortage. In every metropolitan area in the country, there is room for physicians to do this.
Wonderful. Okay. So, what are the startup costs? When we want to get involved with this, what does it involve for us actually to get set up and what's it going to cost?
Right. So it's actually, surprisingly, it's quite minimal. So this biggest startup cost is elbow grease. There's no getting around the fact that you have to uh, meet with attorneys to get your business going. Um, as I said earlier, this kind of business makes for a great one-person business. If you wanted to have an assistant, you certainly could. But most physicians do this as a one-person business out of a home office. And so, everybody has a computer, everybody has an internet connection. There are some small startup costs for some software and some other internet things that you need, but the costs are actually quite minimal.
Fabulous. And when everyone actually attends the conference, what about CME credits?
I couldn't hear the last part of the question.
What about CME credits? Does
Yeah,
attending the conference provide any CME credits?
yeah. The conference is worth 15 Category 1 CME credits.
That's
And
always good to know.
everybody will get a CME certificate. We send them out. You have to, obviously, you have to attend and you have to fill out the evaluation form. And then we typically send the certificates out by email.
Wonderful. Good to know. So, how long does the average consult take to do?
Good question. The average consult is typically somewhere around 5 to 10, 5 to 12 hours. Unlike expert work, where it takes much more time. So average consult, 5 to 12 hours.
And how do you charge for those services then? Do you charge by the hour or by the case?
Yeah, I charge by the hour for everything that I do. I charge one hourly fee for whatever it is that I'm doing. And then I'll send an itemized bill when I complete my service, either with my report or if my report doesn't include, if my service doesn't include a report.
Wonderful. So if anyone else has any questions, please do pop them in the chat bar on the right-hand side. We've got just a few more minutes left of today's webinar. And of course, if you'd like to join us at the conference in May next year, the big green button on the right-hand side of your screen will take you straight through to our page where you can find out more information, although you've got lots of information today, and it will take you to the form where you can choose either your standard ticket or your VIP ticket, where you get all of those additional bonuses, including lunch with either Dr. Feldman or one of the speakers on day one, reserved seating, a goodie bag, additional case studies, a whole wealth of extras onto your ticket. And of course, the standard ticket, you still get your 2 days of conference tickets, the conference binder, lunch on both days, not with Dr. Feldman and the speakers, but still a delicious lunch for you to enjoy and keep you fueled for the conference. So 2 fantastic ticket options there. They are selling out quickly and the early bird price ends in just a few weeks. So please don't miss out on that. Click on the big green button or call us right now on 303 619 0777. So if there aren't any more questions that are coming in, and we'll just give you another minute or so to do those. Dr. Feldman, do you want to give us a wrap up of why we can't afford to miss this next conference coming up in May on the 2nd and 3rd, 2020?
Yeah, I know that the practice of medicine is getting harder. The nature of the practice of medicine has changed. The stress involved in being a physician, I think, has increased. And this is a way to reduce that stress, have a very interesting and lucrative part-time income source that is tremendously gratifying in terms of both intellectual stimulation and the fact that you're still really helping people who really need this kind of help. So, you can't get in on the ground floor forever. There is a tremendous interest in this. I was in fact talking with Kate about this recently, that there seems to be more interest in doing this kind of work than there ever has been. So now is the time to do it.
Fabulous. So, Dr. Feldman, thank you so much for imparting all of that knowledge today. It's been really appreciated. And thank you to everyone who has joined us on the webinar and asked all of those questions. We hope to see you all at the conference next year. And of course, if you do have any other questions for Dr. Feldman, please do feel free to give us a call and we can get those answered for you. But for now, thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day and hopefully we'll see you next year. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.